What's up, everyone? I'm Tatum. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Wall, where today I'm going to be discussing, you know how this goes, one of my favorite of all times. I know. Today, well, I'm just going to show you the record. So today I'm going to be discussing the Beatles, Revolver. Man, Revolver is like, before I get into the breakdown and analysis, someone said I should call these analysis more than reviews and reactions. And I was like, aha. So thank you. This album, man, this is probably like, it's in my top 5 Beatles. It'll probably be Sergeant Pepper's just Sergeant Pepper. I'm going to put it at 3, sometimes 4. Depends on if I'm listening to Sergeant Pepper that day or not. But, you know, every time I listen to it, I know White Album and Abbey Road are 1 and 2, and White Album is number 1. But Revolver is like, man, Revolver is so fucking dope. I remember when I was younger, right? And this is before I even knew who the Beatles were and anything like that, knew what Revolver was or anything like that. And I had a freaking t-shirt with the cover on it, because I just went into Target and saw it, and I was like, oh, that's a cool, pretty graphic on a t-shirt. Little did I know that the Beatles would become one of my favorite artists and bands of all time. So I'm going to put this back, and we're going to get into this analysis. No knock to Rubber Soul, but what the Beatles did with Revolver is took what they created on Rubber Soul and, like, amplified that bitch by 1,000 to me. Like, I think just the steps they took and like just to make this album, and you know, like this was like the last album before they stopped touring. I don't even know if it's real footage of them. I could be totally wrong, and I don't care. You could let me know and please pass the footage. But is there footage of them performing any songs off Revolver, like, out there? I thought it was dope that they stopped performing and they officially became a studio band. So it gave them time to just craft amazing dope shit like that we couldn't even think of, like, at all. Like, I look at Revolver and I be like, well, the run that they went on from Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sergeant Pepper, I know the bands and musicians around was just like, I fucking hate these people. Like, I know, like, the leader of what's that band, the Beach Boys, he like went crazy studying, not literally went crazy, but he went crazy listening to Rubber Soul so many times. That's how they made what is it, Pet Sounds or whatever. Like, he was like so intrigued on like how the fuck did they do this? And they were signed to the same record company, so that was crazy. They were probably putting more attention into the Beatles than they were the Beach Boys at the time, until they dropped that record. But even after, man, they just went on a crazy run. That 3 album, Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sergeant Pepper, is just second to none. And this was around the time they got was getting mad, like, ridiculed for the "I think we're bigger than Jesus" statement that John Lennon made, which is like ridiculous at this, like, looking back in retrospect, how people they just overreact to things. But let's get into it. The album starts with Taxman. Let me tell you how it will be. And it's crazy that George Harrison opened the album because, you know, up until this point, he was getting the little bro treatment. Like, just play the guitar. We'll let you sing the backgrounds when we need you. But, you know, Paul and Lennon are writing the fucking hits. So, you know, but it was cool that he kind of came into his own. It was I wonder, like, for the people who listened to this album, like, in '66, like, Taxman was a step away from the traditional Beatles sound. Like, Beatles was like known for love songs and crafting and covering love songs up until this point. I mean, on Help they wrote as well, but up until this point, it was just mostly love songs. And then on this album, it took a sharp left or right, whatever you want, whatever it's called. But they like start discussing other issues and making stories about things that you just wouldn't think that, like, they made, like, Taxman in itself is just like how, like, most of the majority of the band, it was only 4, but they were facing bankruptcy. Like, they were giving most of their money to the government, and they're like the biggest band ever. Like they're bigger than Jesus. So how the fuck are we broke? Like, they had to restructure everything at that point in time. I just thought, like, him saying like it's one for you, 19 for me, like type shit. Like damn, we only get one out of the night. Like that's how crazy. Like it's always the musicians always going through the major major like tax problems, and the most creative people always got like the bad money dealings with the record company and publishing and things of that nature. But I just thought that to start the album with Taxman is just ridiculous. That is just a great way for George Harrison to break out and just find his own in a way. And the fact that they even let him have the songs that he had on the album just shows how great they are. You know what I mean? And then to go into Eleanor Rigby.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been.
I just sometimes like I sit and I wonder like how the fuck, not how the fuck did they do it, that as well, but I can't have the reaction of a person in 66 first listening to this, right? Like by the time I get to it, I could get it probably a little bit quicker than people in 66 got it. So I always wonder like what was the reaction? Like you went to Taxman, like Beatles fans went to Taxman, and then Eleanor Rigby was the second song. You like, hold on, what the fuck is going on here? Like is this like you looking at the record? Like is this the Beatles? What the fuck is? Okay, let me just give it a chance. And like Eleanor Rigby is probably one of Paul McCartney's best songs ever. Like just the story and the depiction of loneliness and like the fucking, I don't know if you guys ever heard, but the Aretha Franklin version is also fucking dope. I thought that was a dope cover of the Beatles. But I think that song was just a great representation of just a story of loneliness. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot of lonely people in this world who listens to Eleanor Rigby and it's the first song that the Beatles, none of them played on. Like that's nuts in itself. Like nobody in the Beatles played on this song. It was just George Martin, got a live orchestra and they sung over that. Like I just think that's fucking dope. And the fact that I read in one of those magazines, you know how it's a Beatles magazine drop every month, but it's like one of them, it was like the line was originally, instead of Father McKenzie, it was Father McCartney, but he changed it just because, I can't have my father in this premonition kind of shit. So he changed it from McCartney to Father McKenzie. Like, I thought that was dope. Little cute Easter egg. So to go into Eleanor Rigby and then go into I'm Only Sleeping. And when I first heard I'm Only Sleeping when I was a teenager, like when I first got into Revolver and I was just going through my Beatles phase and I like mashed out on the Beatles for months and just like studied their whole discography like at my late teens. I'm Only Sleeping was like one of those ones that I was like, yeah, this guy gets me totally. like it was one of the first ones I related to, like besides like Strawberry Fields and things of that nature. But that was one of the first Beatles songs I was like, yes, this fucking guy gets it. Like, I want to fucking sleep. I just thought it was dope. I heard that most of the time John would just sleep. Like when they wasn't on the road or recording, like, or doing drugs, he would like just be sleeping, and somebody's like, yeah, he's the laziest piece of shit ever. Like, and he said some line like, he only has besides writing music, he only has the physical energy to have sex. Like, I was like, that's some real rock star shit before it was rock star shit. Like, I only got if I'm not writing music, I only got the physical energy to have sex. Other than that, I want to go to sleep. Like Paul McCartney used to come over his house and like beg him to wake up so they could write songs and shit, but John just be like, fuck that, I'm going to sleep and I'll wake up when I get up and I'll craft the greatest hits. And on this album, I'll get to it in my recap, but on this album, John Lennon has some of the best songs, like period. Like I'm Only Sleeping, the background vocals on that song, I just love that record, bro. Like that record is like, it's so simple but so great at the same time. And I think that's like one of the Beatles, like that's like one of the keys to their success in a way. And it's the first time we hear the backwards effect on the record. Like towards the end, that's the first time we hear that shit. And that just came from them actually just becoming a studio band and working in the studio more and just discovering shit on accident and discovering shit on purpose. But like that shit had to fuck people up when they first heard it in 66. Like, hold on, what the fuck is that? Is that like they probably didn't even think it was reversed. This is probably what leads to like, this would probably leads to, it's a bunch of other songs I'm gonna get to that could lead to this, but this leads to like all the, what is it? What would you call it? Like all the folklore tales of the Beatles. Like all the songs have a different meaning to a different person when you ask them and things of that nature. But like Like I could see like in '66 them hearing just a guitar spinning backwards and be like, oh no, what is this? Before all these bands decided to do that shit and distort shit and flip it and reverse it, Missy Elliott and shit, it was like the Beatles and John Lennon. So that was just one of those songs that's just always resonated with me. And then to go into Love You Too, another George song. Bro, he was really coming into his own. I hate to repeat that, but he really was. Like him, you having the Indian style influence on his records. Not to knock to Norwegian Wood, but this is probably like the first time we really pushed that shit. Like he grabbed that shit and then gave it a rock feel and pushed that shit into a whole nother realm for me. And even his song subjects became a little bit more aware of the world and things of that nature, and that could have something to do with the trips they were taking, LSD, and just meeting new people and just getting experiences that you wouldn't get if you were just in Liverpool. After that, we go into Here, There, Everywhere, and that's one of those classic McCartney love ballads. Like I think that's his bread and butter. Like that's his shit. Like McCartney sounds best when he's just like crafting those great love songs that could be played at weddings or dedicated to the love of your life kind of thing. Like songs so great, even fucking Frank Ocean like took a snippet and put it on his last album Blonde, like, and gave credit to Lennon and McCartney. So like it just shows you how love songs always gonna stand the test of time no matter what. And I think he's one of the GOATs of crafting love songs. The song just reminds me of gentleness. Like I think it's like I always say the anti John in a way. Like John can craft love songs, but it's more it's like hard love songs in a way. But McCartney love songs is like, my grandmother could listen to this, my mother could listen to this, my son could listen. Like it's so commercial. Like he gets it in a way, and I'm pretty sure that's like the greatness that he adds to the group of the Beatles. Like he's a great songwriter and he gets it, like especially with the love ballads. Like it's just his thing. I love the guitar in the middle of the hook. It comes in at like 1 minute and 3 seconds. This how much of a fan I know what time that guitar hits. Like it comes in at like 1:03.
I need never care, but to love her is to need her.
It takes the song in a different direction, then it brings it back. The Beatles is just so fucking dope. Then we get into Yellow Submarine, which for me, it's more, I know I get like Ringo hate forever, but like for me, it's probably a skippable song. But to know like that's one of the ones that, it's one of those Beatles songs, like I mentioned, like where the talk gets about like everybody has a different meaning for that record. Is it about drugs? Is it about loneliness? Is it about the Beatles like being in isolation, like from the world? Like we all live in a yellow submarine. Like it's like is it about the war? Like it's a bunch of meanings and ideologies that people grab from this song and just make it about. And that I guess in that way it's really dope. And my fucking son has a yellow submarine toy that plays the song, so it's for the kids. And that song, I love how the sound effects they use, like the bells and the people singing and the backgrounds, just it sounds like a bunch of drunk sailors on a boat singing towards the end. And even when I think it's Paul, but it might be Lennon, it sounds like Paul though. But as he does, like he repeats "and all yellow" like after every word that Ringo says in the last verse. I think that's pretty freaking dope. So yeah, I guess in that way it's pretty cool. And then to go into She Said,
And she's making me feel like I've never been born.
again, like that's probably one of my favorites as well. Just John Lennon. John Lennon has a way of like just taking everyday life shit and make it into a record. The idea for this song came from, they were on a trip in a mansion or something that, like I said, they couldn't leave, so people would come over to their houses, like the party spot, go on trips, blah, blah, blah. When I mean trips, I mean LSD and things of that nature. And what was the actor name? Peter Fonda, I believe. He just kept being a fucking downer. Like he would keep coming up to them and people and like, yeah, because he accidentally shot himself or some shit like that, and he just kept saying like, you know what, I know what it's like to be dead or whatever, and like John Lennon was like, dude, you got to get the fuck out of here, like you're blowing my trip, like, and kicked him out the house, like, because he was going around to like everybody knows that downer person that just floats around the party and just do like stupid shit. Like you ruining the mood of this whole thing that we're experiencing right now. You got to go, and like for him to take that and like flip it to she said, I know what it's like to be dead, like blah blah blah. Like, look, bro, you making me feel like I never been born. Get out of here. Like, I don't want to deal with this right now. Like, I just think he always had a sense of just taking shit that was like, and you could do it with a bunch of songs. Songs off Sgt. Pepper, he does that. Songs off the White Album, he does that. Like, he just takes literally life shit that just happened in his life and could put that shit into a song, and that guy has to live. Well, I guess it's like a great thing. Like, I'm the reason. Now, instead of saying like, I know what it's like to be dead, he's like, I'm the reason. I know what it's like to be in a Beatles song. But there's a story that Paul was walked out of the sessions making this record because I guess he wanted to have some input on it and they wasn't going the way that he wanted to, so he just left and George Harrison had to play his guitar and things of that nature. Like, the fucking Beatles. Like, that's just hilarious. Like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out of here. Play the song by your goddamn selves and just leave. like, but you fucking Paul McCartney, get back in here. Then we go into Good Day Sunshine. That's one of Paul McCartney's greatest records. It's like, it's that happy shit that, like, either it's a love ballad or it's like great happy shit, and he like can kill that with all the time. Like, it's just like his range. Like, that song reminds me of like, that song just sounds like it should be in commercials like for the rest of my life, from Colgate to Toyota to like good day son, like I wanna lie, dun 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 dun, like just off the peak, man. Paul McCartney's a fucking beast. Let's go into And Your Bird Can Sing. And John Lennon describes this song as a fucking throwaway, like a throwaway, bro. Like that's just one of the ones that was just lying around, blah, blah, blah. And that song is so fucking dope. Like, all the John Lennon songs on here is, like, very introspective. They're, like, totally strayed away from... Even when I listen back to old Beatles songs and John Lennon sing about love, I mean, obviously he still kills it. Like, She Loves Me, yeah. But his best songs are the ones that's, like, not about love. They're just some, like, real shit. But this one, in the case... Like, again, it's one of those other Beatles songs that people always wonder what's the actual meaning. You have people that say, like, it's about his ex-wife, and she bought him, like, this, I'm not sure if it was a holiday, but she bought him a present, and it was, like, one of those, I think it was, like, a cuckoo clock in a way, but, like, a cage bird clock, and, like, he described it, like, his face when he opened the package was just so disappointed, but he related it to, like, their relationship. Like, she never could understand him. You got everything you want and your bird can sing, but you can't get me, or you can't hear me, or things of that nature. Like a slap in the face to everybody. Like, all his songs are like shots. Like, he just slapping everybody in the face. The guy at the party, Paul McCartney, his ex-wife. Like, he's just like, he could write those records so effortlessly, and like he's just a master of taking real life and putting it into records. Like, and not just love shit, but just life in general. And Your Bird Can Sing is probably one of my favorites on the album as well. And then to go into For No One, which is like the excellent song to follow up to that, if it's really about his John Lennon's ex-wife, because For No One is Paul McCartney's like, it's like a breakup song. Like, your day breaks, your heart ache. I always think that, even though I said Paul McCartney's songs, love ballads are great, the fact that he's speaking from the woman aspect in the relationship, right? So he's saying like, and in her eyes you see nothing, no sign of love behind the tears, cry for no one, a love that should have lasted a year. Like, that shit is like, whoa, like, and the way the guitar gets dark and shit as he plays that part is just fucking amazing to come. I'm not sure if they did it, obviously they did it on purpose, but did they realize that it was coming behind Your Bird Can Sing? And that's like the breakup aspect of it. Like, after we just went through that one, this is the breakup. I just think, and those lines are just like straight poetry. Like, I think that's one of his strongest records as well. Like, the stuff that we missed about the stuff that we miss when they break up is like why they're so great together. When they could do songs like For No One or Your Bird Can Sing, like they're so great as a band together that when they broke apart, they're all great musicians on their own. They can stand alone, but when they're together, it's just like Voltron, bro. Like so, or Megatron, whatever you want to call it. And then to go into Dr. Roberts, I think that's kind of a throwaway record. I think that's just one of those songs dedicated to your drug dealer, whether he's dealing LSD or weed or heroin. I don't know if John Lennon was on heroin at that point, but it's just one of those records dedicated to like your drug dealer, like Dr. Robert. Like you call him, he brings all the good shit that you need. I do love the well part. John Lennon has a thing with like I think that's like a Beatles thing, like the well on here. The Paul McCartney does one on Ram. It's like well, and then John Lennon does a well on the Plastic Ono Band. Like that's like their shit, I guess. And then to go into I Want to Tell You again is George's third song on the record, and to me, he actually, how do I want to say this? He presented all three songs that he has on this album are totally separate from each other. Like from Taxman to Love You Too to I Want to Tell You are all like different records. And like his pen game was really, he's like the slep on pen. I think that's why his first solo, All Things Must Pass, is just so great, because he was holding on to all these great records. But like you're in a band with John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and you know their records, quote unquote, are going to be kind of better. Like they're like two of the greatest writers of all time, like period. So like you kind of have to take a backseat even if you do have the great records. Like he shines on Guitar Gently Weeps and Something, and obviously Taxman and I Want to Tell You, but I don't know, he just deserves a lot of credit for on this record. Especially for me, like he gets a lot of credit because the three songs he presented on this album are really all really different records, all like different sounds at that. Like Taxman doesn't sound like Love You Too, and Love You Too doesn't sound like I Want to Tell You at all. Like they could be on three different albums if you ask me. But that's the great part of the Beatles, I guess. And then to go into Got to Get You Into My Life, which is Paul McCartney's his ballad to drugs. Like, got to get you into my life. And like I love, my favorite Paul McCartney is singing wise is when he does that with his voice. Like, cause you know he does like the he does like the soft spoken stuff a lot, especially on his love ballads and stuff. But I like the Paul McCartney when he's screaming, like the Golden Slumbers or this or Live and Let Die. Yeah, so like on Live and Let Die, Golden Slumbers, this record, he does this thing with his voice where it's more like rock screaming, like Live and Let Die. Like I love that. Yeah, so yeah, it is. No, that's what it is. Like it shows his soul. Like that's the McCartney that I really mess with, because it just shows his range that he could go. Like I think he has a better vocal range than anyone in the band, and he could hit all the, like he could listen to somebody and hit their, like, I want to do a Beach Boys record, so I'm gonna do that. Or I'm gonna do Helter Skelter, I'm gonna do that. Or like I'm gonna do Golden Slumbers, I could do that. Or I could do Oh Darling, I could do that. Like it's like, yes, he really is like a voice actor. Like he could do any of those things. Like I think that's one of his greatest gifts. Which probably why his voice is so like, well, he's old now, but it's kind of tarnished from doing all that shit, like live performance and changing his voice so much on record. But yeah, that's my favorite McCartney. And the flow, to say the flow on a rock record is funny, but his flow on there is like,
You didn't run, you didn't lie, you knew I wanted just to hold you.
that flow that he had through that song, like it's just like that's like me loving rap. That's like a rap flow. Like that's just so fucking dope. Like that he was doing that in '66. Like, but you know, Got to Get You Into My Life. John says that's one of Paul McCartney's favorite best songs like ever. So that's that. Like if John Lennon gives the stamp, you know, he always got something crazy to say. But if he says your best song or one of your best, it is. And then to go into Tomorrow Never Knows. And I mean, is there a better way to close an album than that? Like that song is so, it's so futuristic for the time, and even now I'm listening to it, it's like, what the, like the way it starts is just, what, the drums that Ringo did on there is fucking magnificent. The backwards records again is magnificent. The introspective lyrics that John Lennon wrote is just magnificent. That you, like I said again, one of those Beatle records that you just don't like. It's so many ways you could take it, like interpretation wise, that is just, to this day, like it's still like one of the greatest records ever. Like, yeah, I'll put that record up against anything. Like the the guitars, man, like everything about this song is just next level, and it's no hook. It's no hook on this record, bro. Like there's no chorus on the record, like at all. And he has the lines like, what do he say? I'm just gonna read it. I'm not gonna sing it in melody, but the ignorance and hate may mourn the dead. It is believing, it's believing. But listen to the colors of your dream. It's not living, it's not living. Or play the game existence to the end of the beginning. The beginning, like, what the fuck? like John Lennon was on some other shit. That's that LSD shit. Like you could tell, like their minds tapped into some other shit because he didn't write one love song on this record. It's just like all him or George Harrison. It's just like all just, I don't know, like awakening type shit, and that's just so fucking dope. I know people on that last verse when he says the or play the game existence to the end. I know people when it was out in '66 on the vinyl, they couldn't understand what he was saying. Like literally, they probably couldn't make out what the hell he was saying. Like if you had this record back in the day, let me know. Did you know what he was saying, or did you was just like, what is he like? I remember the first time, couple times I heard it just sound like gibberish. Like he was just trying to like he had the melody but didn't have the words kind of thing. But if you listen back to it, you can make out everything he's saying now, especially with remastered versions and things of that nature. But I really want to know, on a bad vinyl player back in the '60s, could they make out what they were saying? And yeah, best songs, I'm gonna go with Tomorrow Never Knows, I'm Only Sleeping, and Eleanor Rigby. Like hands down. I would have I put Eleanor Rigby in there, but it could have been all John Lennon songs on this album. But Eleanor Rigby is Eleanor Rigby. Like what can you say? Worst song, I'm gonna say Dr. Robert, just because that one sounds like a filler, even though I get it. Like I get it in retrospect, but far as the rest of the songs of the album, that's probably the weakest to me. Favorite line, he says, John Lennon on I'm Only Sleeping, and when he says, everybody seems to think I'm lazy. I think they're crazy, running around in such a speed till they find out there's no need. There's no need. Like, like he got it. Like he really got it early. Like, so yeah, that was probably one of my favorite lines that always stick out to me, and I always repeat that in my head, like just walking around day to day. Okay. To wrap this up, Revolver, bro, like this album, it just pushed everything. Like you don't get Sergeant Pepper without Revolver. You know what I mean? Like they pushed the boundary so much with genres, and like they had Motown sounds in here, they had rock sounds in here, they had the Beach Boy sounds in here, they had sounds we never heard before, they had Indian styles in here. Like it's so many styles that they crafted and made this great album. It's just unexplainable. It's a joy to listen to. Like it's the album that makes, for me, it's the album that makes the Beatles great. And I know that's crazy to say. That might be the most outlandish statement ever, but it's the album that really makes the Beatles great to me. Like they stepped away from the traditional shit they know, and like again, don't take anything from Rubber Soul. And George Martin, he needs a lot of credit too, because I heard he was getting paid like a flat rate for the Beatles work, and he's like the producer. Like they couldn't possibly done this shit without him, and he basically put Capital at an EMI at a standstill. If you do this, or I'm leaving. And like you ain't gonna have the producer of the greatest band ever just walk away, so you gonna give him whatever he wants. I thought that was kind of dope and a great power move at the time, because giving him a flat rate for all the stuff he was doing with the Beatles is just ridiculous. But just to see a band, it always gets me, because like I keep saying in the '60s, but to do this in the '60s is just unheard of, bro. Like it's just so dope. Like, and without this album in their discography, what would they be? Like I said, it would be no Sgt. Pepper. Like they went so far with that 3 album run of Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sgt. Pepper that the White Album had to be like stripped in a way. Like they like exploded and had to like calm down again and come back down to earth and things that like they left earth on Rubber Soul, Revolver, and Sgt. Pepper. Like they pushed the boundaries so far that they couldn't even go any further. Like they had to, and then when they went back and stripped everything down, they created some of the greatest records ever with White Album, and then with Abbey Road. I think Abbey Road's probably one of their like anybody could listen to Abbey Road like and love it. So I just I just think this album itself, Revolver, is just one of the greats. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you think? What do you rank Revolver in the Beatles discography? Is it one of your favorites? Is it one of your least favorites? What's some of your favorite songs on this album? Let me know. Yeah, I'm Tatum. This is Revolver. It's time to put this record back on my wall.